as a parent, well, I started off obviously with a tiny baby, and that tiny baby, Jonathan, became gradually more and more independent. You know, he learned how to walk, learned how to ride a bike, went to school, did extremely well, learned how to drive, was completely independent. And then in the blink of one medical intervention, he became so completely dependent that everything was upside down again.
I think lots of people don't realise that, or don't know that spinal injury can happen to anyone, no matter who you are, what you do. Just can happen to, you can happen out of the blue, take completely by surprise. I was a completely active, normal person, but most people don't know that.
It was on a gap year, and it was something that I knew he wanted to do. He was very active. He was a very, very keen skier. He had already qualified as a ski instructor at Gloucester. He was very dedicated and really enjoyed teaching at Gloucester. So, you know, when I heard he was going to go and train to be a ski instructor on snow, I was 100% in favour of it. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, I remember going to Canada, just full of excitement really, about the course, about just love skiing. It was like a massive passion, and yeah, I was pretty good at it, I think. Yeah, I just remember like every day in Canada, I just wake up, get ready, go out, go skiing. Even if I wasn't feeling very well, I just forced myself to get up. I just loved it so much.
We didn't really know exactly what had happened, but we realised it was something bad, otherwise they wouldn't have phoned. They wouldn't have phoned and asked us to go to Canada, you know, and so I was obviously shattered and very, very worried, numb I suppose, and all the way to the airport and on the flight to Canada. I suppose I was expecting the worst. I think I was pessimistic than Sue was.
When it first happened, all I could do was blink. So, spent 10 days in Calgary in intensive care, just being able to blink. And I remember really wanting to be able to ask people what happened and why it happened, but I couldn't. Later I found out that I had contracted meningitis, was operated on, they rushed me into the theatre because I had little chance of survival and saved my life basically, but he left me paralysed.
He was in Canada and I saw him. He had his eyes open. He didn't know if he could see. We didn't know. I didn't know if he could think. I didn't know if he was brain damaged or what. And I remember saying to him, "Look at the clock," and I saw his eyes move at the clock on the ward, and that was a significant stage.
When we sort of got the news, it didn't really ever sink in until Jonathan first got home. I just didn't really think anything of it, to be honest, because I guess you always have that notion that things are going to change, and when I heard that Jonathan was on a ventilator and paralysed, I didn't really think twice of it. I mean, part of that's down to shock, I guess, but I was just sort of like, well, Mum and Dad seemed pretty upset, so I'll just let them get on and do whatever. So I just sort of, to be honest, didn't think as much of it until I actually saw him when he was home in hospital, and I came into Gloucester Royal, and Jonathan was lying there in his bed, and I just broke down in tears because it's just, not what you're really expecting.
I was hugely relieved after 5 months when he was able to talk again, because he sounds the same, and he is the same person. It's just, I find it somehow very hard to actually merge the able-bodied Jonathan before the accident with the Jonathan that he now has had to become. It's very hard.
I started working for a company called Leonard Cheshire about 3-4 years ago, and they asked me if I would be interested in looking after a young guy who was paralysed from the jaw downwards and was on a ventilator. And I was quite happy to do that. I like a challenge, and that seemed like a good challenge for me.
Before my injury, I'd say I was really sporty, always active, really active, skiing nationally, running half marathons and things, cycling everywhere, just like really busy, hardly any time to sit down, just all the time up and go.
I'm thrilled about Jonathan going to university. I think it's an amazing thing for him to do. I think it was great how he was brave enough to go to college in Gloucester and start all over again doing more A-levels. Proves that he still had enough motivation to knuckle down to working and succeed, and I think it's fantastic that there's something that Jonathan is just so good at that he can actually compete on equal terms with other people, so I think it's wonderful.
It's good to see how far he's progressed since we first met. Obviously, time has he's progressed in many ways, not just the medical side, but the actual things he's actually done and achieved since I started working for him. He's been to college, he's now at uni, and he's done a lot more things than I think he thought he was going to be able to do.
I was happy for him to go because I thought it's the next logical step on a normal life, and it's what he wanted to do. So I think it was something he could do at uni. So I was very much for that, but I was also anxious that it could end up being quite sort of lonely and whatnot, because I found it a bit that myself. So yeah.
It's difficult to know what other people think, but I get the impression that people look at me and think of me as different to them because I'm in a wheelchair, and I think people find that frightening and possibly say a barrier, and I think people just not used to it and don't know how to react to you. So some people can be I think some people think if disabled people if you're disabled, you have to feel sorry for them. But not everyone, but I think quite a few people feel like that. I'd like people to treat me as equal to everyone else, but I think people find it difficult to know how to treat you. It's difficult sometimes. I think since Paralympics, I think that's helped how people react, and sometimes it just takes time as well for people to know how to treat you and to interact with you. And once you get to know people, I think they see you for who you are more, and treat you as an old person, which is what I'd like to think everyone does, but I think it just takes time.
Well, I think Jonathan is coping absolutely phenomenally. I don't know how he does what he does. I don't know how he bears what he has to bear. I am humbled by how Jonathan has just come to terms with what a massive life change he's had, and just gets on with it, and takes a hugely positive take on life, and is still able to enjoy himself.
I suppose more than anything, I valued the non-technical things like the humour that's come out and the personality, and I suppose my really outstanding memory is Jonathan's strength at coping with his situation, and that is something that isn't just one memory, it just goes on and on and on.
I used to be quite, a bit daredevil really. I used to push myself to the limit on what I could and couldn't do, and I still like to do that, or like to think I can do that, because I'm still the same person, and just feel that I really feel the need to do something to push me to the edge. Yeah, it's difficult at times, but everyone finds things difficult, but I just like look at it from a wider view and see like what happened is maybe happened for a reason, or maybe it's just one of those things, but I don't regret what happened. It's just it's just something that's happened and I had to adjust to and get used to, but I don't look back and think, I wish that hadn't happened.
I think the world's his oyster. I think that given his positive attitude and the setup he has with carers, I think doors will open for him, and his life won't be what we all thought once. I don't know what field of work he'll find himself in, but I think something will happen, and it will be very exciting, as it goes from stage to stage, and something for Jonathan to look forward to, and for us to look forward to.
everybody knew that he made moonshine. Now the revenue man won't be granddaddy bad, headed up to Hollywood, everything